Hey everybody, I'm so excited to share with you this first series of Ask Anik Anything. So we've had some really great questions and some really great engagement and responses so far already for this event. So if you don't catch us live, then you do know that the replay will be up for a little bit of time in our private mastermind group, the Dream Life Mastermind in Facebook. So we had a number of questions, but what I wanted to do was I pulled 3 of the top questions that were really tied in with each other that I thought I'd be able to answer all together because I kind of went together. So the 3 questions that I'm going to answer today in the Ask Anik Anything Mastermind group and webcast is A, how do I get unstuck? B, why do I attract the same problems? And C, what is an energetic divorce? So those really played well together. So I wanted to really touch on those to give you some support and some information, some guidelines, some techniques that you can use to help yourself get unstuck and move forward in your life and attaining your dream reality. So first of all, I want to explore what's really happening when you feel stuck. So let's start off with some information. So your core behavior pattern will be for you to stay in your comfort zone. And, it's not that you're a jerk. It's just that simply human nature. So it's not that you don't want to expand and explore new opportunities. It's that your subconscious programming really loves keeping you safe. And it wants to avoid any perceived fear. So what it will do is that it will keep you circling that comfort zone. So each and every one of us all have our own level of needs when it comes to safety. When you reflect on it, you probably are able to identify where you are open to exploring new opportunities and where in your life you prefer to play it safe. So now, I focus on mindset a lot, but the reason this is such an instrumental thing is that the first domino of this, the domino effect, so to speak, it all begins with a thought. Everything begins with a thought. Yes, the catalyst is your mindset, and then it affects your physical body by releasing some feel-good hormones when it recognizes something familiar, and then regardless if it's good or bad. So that's what happens. Your brain triggers a catalyst of chemicals that creates a physical response when it recognizes something familiar. Whether it's a good something or a bad something, it's like, oh, I know what this is. So you have this sometimes conflicting information within yourself. And this is how and why we get confused. It's like, well, it kind of felt good, but then when I look back, I don't know why I kind of hung out there. It's because your body was releasing some feel-good hormones because it simply recognized something that was familiar, something that was in its comfort zone. And then what happens is that the body releases stress hormones as you approach the edge of your comfort zone. Once it starts to see things that it's not familiar with, it gets stressed out physically, chemically, emotionally, and your body actually has a physical response to it first. So first you have a thought, then you have a physical reaction, then you have an emotional response to that physical reaction, and then you make a behavior based on that mindset, that series. So that's what I mean by the first domino in that domino effect is the mindset. You have a thought, it triggers a physical chemical reaction, which makes you feel something. It's like a split-second reaction. You feel it in the body. Then that creates or supports the choice of what emotions you're going to have. And then your emotions is what drives your behaviors and choices, especially the ones that you do automatically without thinking about them. I'm sure you could probably think of a time where you got triggered and then you had a reaction or a response that if you would have had time to think about it, then you might have said or done something different, right? So that's where your automatic programs really come into play. So once you those chemical triggers an emotional response, And based on the emotions and the pre-programmed automated behavioral response, you're often left repeating the same sequence over and over and over and over again. And this is why we feel stuck. So you're not so much stuck as you're reliving the same experience day in and day out. So you might feel like you're making different choices, but you still are using that same mold, that same template that you make these choices on. So it might feel like a different decision or a different choice or a different experience or a different person, but what's happening is you're using the same template to make your choices by. And that's why we often end up where we started. And for many people, that's the responses they get. What I hear is, I'm stuck. It's like, well, are you stuck or are you just circling your comfort zone? And one of the questions that was brought was, why do I seem to attract the same problems? Well, this is why you seem to attract the same problems. It might appear to you that you're making a different choice, but unless you've shifted your mindset and the template for which your choices are being made, then you're still using that same mold, and then you end up making the same choices inadvertently, which is why you always feel like you end up right where you started. Yeah, so your comfort zone keeps you trapped. So I wanted to give you kind of a how to get unstuck step-by-step process. So the first thing that I want you to explore is just take a moment to think about something in your life where you feel you're stuck. So I'll give you a second to think about that while I take a sip of my coffee. So take a second to think about, I feel stuck in what area? And you can even, I'd love for you to share it in the comments, because then I can even address some of the particular areas that where you might be feeling stuck, because different areas of our lives might have different solutions. So bang it in there, throw it in the comments. You don't have to give any private or gruesome details. Is there a particular area in your life where you feel stuck? And so for some people, it might be financial, it might be their employment, it might be their relationships. And so go ahead and pop it in. And what would be really fun is by you sharing that will allow me to kind of guide where the next Ask Anik Anything topics will lie. So then that way we can follow up and dive a little bit deeper in these different aspects of your life so that we can gain clarity and awareness as to why you're maybe specifically stuck in that particular part of your life. So slap it in there, ladies and gents, so that you can gain some more awareness. So now that you've had a second to think about that part of your life where you're stuck, I want you to kind of just ask and identify for yourself what the cause of that stuckness is, right? Are you circling your comfort zone? Or have you lost inspiration or perspective for something new? And what I mean by that is you've been replaying this for so long that you don't even have the perspective that anything else is even available for you anymore. So this has been what it's always been, and you can't even think outside of that box anymore. Another particular reason, and they all kind of play into the same, is, are you paralyzed by fear? And that's what will happen is we keep circling our comfort zone, because as soon as we reach the edge of that comfort zone is made up of your limiting perspectives and your fears. So that fear keeps pushing you back to the center of your comfort zone. So you'll make your way out a little bit. And then as soon as things start to really change for you, then you'll start to doubt yourself, you'll start to freak out, you'll start to question whether or not you made a great decision or not, and then you end up self-sabotaging and then moving back into the core of your comfort zone. And then another cause or another aspect of the stuckness is, are you spinning your wheels? And what I mean by that is, are you just doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different result? So where are you niching out? So are you circling your comfort zone? So you almost create a change and then you end up where you started off with. Have you lost inspiration and perspective for something that's new? You don't even know what exists outside of your comfort zone anymore. You've been so trapped inside of that bubble for so long. Are you want something different, but you're totally paralyzed with fear. So you're in that fright or freeze human response to a situation. So you're not even sure what to do, and you're afraid to make any other decisions because you're afraid of what might happen. To seek a new outcome for yourself? Or do you just keep going through the day in and day out and repeating the same things over and over and over again, and then kind of feel like you're spinning your wheels, like you're on that hamster wheel and kind of never getting a different result? Which, if you've ever heard the quote from Albert Einstein, and it's a really great quote, is the definition of insanity is repeating the same thing over and over again and then expecting a different result. Well, that's what spinning our wheels feels like. It's like we're just doing the same thing over and over again, and then we think we're going to end up somewhere else, but we actually don't. So generally speaking, most people get stuck because they're frozen in their current reality. And this is usually caused by a real or perceived conscious or subconscious fear. So what kind of sucks a little bit is it doesn't even have to be a real fear. If your subconscious has a perceived fear of the worst thing that will happen will be blah, 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 well, then it will keep you circling in that vortex of yuckiness, so to speak. So a really great question to ask yourself is, what if you weren't stuck? So I want you to, step one, identify the cause of your stuckness. And I went over 4 main categories of what that might be. And then 2, what if you weren't stuck? What would that look like for you? And so the second step is really, I want you to put aside this current state of mind. I want you to take a minute to do it right now, or I want you to do it at a later time. I would highly recommend that if you have a journal or feel like writing, that you actually write something new. So what I would like for you to do is I want you to explore what you would like your reality to look like instead, right? And then as you explore this process, I want you to pay attention to your yeah buts and, oh, I can't, and oh, that's impossible, or this will never happen. So every time you have one of those naggy little thoughts, I just want you to kind of identify it, whatever, so you put a little asterisk next to it, because essentially what that is a true blue indicator of what your limiting beliefs and fears are. And that's what's actually holding you back from aligning with your new reality, the one that you desire for yourself, right? So you can't even, if you think about it for a second, you can't even write a fairy tale new life for yourself without the doubt coming in, right? Like, how powerful is that subconscious belief and programming if you're writing for yourself a new dream life, and then you've got hesitation, resistance, fears, can'ts, what ifs, buts, and possibilities that show up while you're doing that. So pay special attention to those, because that's a really great indicator as to what's truly holding you back from manifesting, creating the life that you want for yourself and keeping you stuck in that vortex that you have for right now in your life. So one of the tools that I have for my program is the Dream Life meditation. And what that is, it's about a 15-minute meditation that literally walks you through your dream life, a day in the life of your dream life that you make up for yourself. So it's not a lengthy process. It's just about less than 15 minutes. But what it does is it allows you to hold that sacred space for anything being possible. And the reason it's such an important tool is because if you're unclear of the destination, how are you ever going to get there, right? It's like we are stuck and trapped in these realities. And then we're like, well, I want something different. They're like, well, what do you want? Well, I don't even know. Okay, well, it's kind of like trying to plan a vacation. First, you got to figure out where you want to go. And then you start booking your flights, looking for hotels, and finding the information that you need and the tools that you need to get you there. So the first thing you need to do is find out what you want that reality to look like. because you've probably been trapped in your reality for so long that you've kind of forgotten to look outside of the box a little bit, go, if I did have, or if I wasn't stuck anymore, what would I want my life to look like? Now, this is going to be maybe a big ask for some people, but what I would like you to do, so step one, identify the cause of your stuckness. Step two, focus on what you want. What if you weren't stuck? What would that dream reality look like for you? And write a short story or whatever you want, bullet list or a little paragraph or a full novel of what you would like your life to look like instead. And the next thing I want you to do is, not that you're going to put it aside, but then I want you to focus completely on what you can do. And this is extremely important because we stay stuck because of our perspective, and we focus on everything that isn't possible. Well, I can't do this, and I can't do this, and I can't do this, and I can't do this. And what happens when you focus on everything you can't do is you attract more impossibility. But what if you would just shift your perspective, even for a few minutes a day, on what was possible? So I want you to, just for a moment, even if it's like 5 minutes a day, I want you to focus on everything that you can do. Because no matter what situation you're in, you always get three things. You get to decide how you feel, I'll start over. You get to decide how you think, because that's where it begins. And then you get to decide how you feel. And then you get to decide how you're going to behave, respond, or react to whatever it is that showed up in front of you. So you always have those three things, no matter what. You get to decide how you want to think. Your thoughts drive your feelings drive your behavior, right? So if you can simply change your perspective, even if you're having the shittiest day ever, if you can try your best to shift your perspective on everything that's going wrong and focus on that one little thing that's rocking, that's going well for you, well, then you open the door for how you feel, and then how you feel becomes your point of attraction, and then how you respond and behave to your world allows more things to show up for you. So those three things are where your power position is. If you feel disempowered by your experience, owning how you think is your first step to reclaiming the power that lives inside of you. Now, the next step, which is step 4, is be open to the opportunities. And I see this so often is people will get to this point and then opportunities will start to show up. And for every solution is a problem. Well, this happened, but. Well, I got this offer, can't. Well, this, so just be super mindful. It doesn't mean that whatever opportunity that's going to show up for you is the one you're going to jump on. But you might want to explore and investigate it instead of shutting it down or going, oh, thanks universe for this opportunity. It's pretty close to what I want. I would like this and. So you tweak it instead of shutting it down and denying it. I don't know if you know what I mean by that, but it's a very energetic response that you have. And if an opportunity shows up for you, even though it's not the one that you're necessarily going to say yes to, if you're like, well, that's not what I wanted, or it's not 100% what I need, well, then you've got this yucky vibe towards it. But it's like, ooh, you know what? That's better than what I had last week, but it's still not exactly what I want. So maybe I'm going to tweak my vibration, if you will, or my intention to be more specific, because maybe you weren't specific enough when you wrote out your dream life, your new destination, right? Maybe you said, I want to go to Mexico, but you didn't specify you wanted a 5-star hotel. Maybe it was just, you ended up in a cockroach motel, right? So whatever the opportunities that show up, they're an opportunity for you to recognize maybe where you were lacking clarity in what your desires were. So once you set your intention and you align with your desired outcome, I promise you would be surprised what you can attract to yourself. Honestly, I cannot tell you how many emails I get from my clients just days after their sessions with, Anik, you won't believe what happened. And I've personally witnessed firsthand the power of mindset. So I know for a fact that when you put your mind to it, anything is possible. And if you've ever made a decision in your life, and you've been really solid in that decision, where the seas have parted for you so that that can truly happen, then you know when you're truly set your mind to something, anything is possible. So the other interesting question that we got into our group that feels like a really great compliment to getting unstuck is what I call the energetic divorce. And so I didn't coin that, but I find that it's a really great description for one of the things that is available to you. So it's one of the services that I've been offering for quite a few years. I used to call it the ethereal cord cutting, and then it was called the toxic attachment release. And I think I've kind of settled with the energetic divorce. Needless to say that all of those essentially is what those things are. So you can energetically, mentally, physically, emotionally become attached to any image, an image of something, an experience, an emotion, a person, or a relationship. So we create these attachments to things. And if you've ever gone out with a guy that was pretty good, but you knew with a little bit of tweaking, he could have been that perfect relationship, or if you ever got hung up on an old boyfriend or old girlfriend, sometimes what we do is we get hung up on the image of what it could have been at its highest potential, that image that's created during the honeymoon stage. And then we keep coming back to those old relationships or seeking them out because we keep seeing this picture, this image of what it could have been. And then we live in that what if scenario, and we feel like we're not able to move on. Maybe I made the wrong decision, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. We tend to forget why we broke up with them in the first place or why the relationship ended. So what's really interesting about the energetic divorce is we can release your attachment to that perception, the image of what it could have been. So then you can be actually open to the things that are truly available to you. You can, especially when you are intimate with somebody as a sexual partner, you create with your energy body an energetic connection and attachment. So your past lovers, if you haven't with your intention released them from your field, then you might want to, or you might want to explore that. And as well, those past experiences and emotions that come back to haunt you, you likely have energetic attachments to them. It's not that you can't get over them, is that they're serving a need, whether it's a toxic or a positive thing. The energy body doesn't quite discern those things very well, some of the time, depending on what your template looks like. So you might kind of be getting some sort of either positive or negative energy from that, whether it works for you or works against you. So what the energetic divorce does is it releases you from whatever that past experience, those past emotions, those past feelings, and then it allows you to move forward and replace whatever it is that you were getting from hanging on to those memories or feelings that are maybe toxic for you, and replacing them with positive thoughts, feelings, and emotions instead. So we kind of switch them out energetically. So instead of being plugged into your past, you're plugged into your present, which is a much more empowering way. So I'm just going to take a second here to see some of the questions that we've gotten from the people on here. Oh, and Tracy's got a great question. She just came up and said, how would you go about transitioning into the holistic field while working in protective services? How do you know where to put your time and energy and still be productive and make currency to sustain a family lifestyle? So that is, that's a very personal choice. Myself, I was in a position where I was fortunate enough to leave my old gig, if you will, in the financial industry, working in business development on the stock market with portfolio managers. And my transition was a full and complete leap of faith. So I went from one thing, and I had the financial security or stability to be able to leverage my choice. Now, I recognize and realize that not everybody is maybe at that same spot or has that different buffer security or that's available to them. So one thing that I would really suggest for you, Tracy, is and let me just get like an answer from the big guy, if you will. So the biggest part I'm getting of your question is how do I know where to put my time and energy and still be productive to make enough money? So here's my short answer. It's a little bit of a long answer. I have a full 6-month program where I support holistic entrepreneurs in making those transitions, as well as identifying what their markets are, what their defined purpose is, what their ideal clients are, and what potential tools that they might need in order to become prosperous while fulfilling their life's purpose. So obviously I'm not gonna, I don't have 6 months to offer all of that, but I'm gonna give you what I would call the quick and dirty. The short answer is the best way for you to know where to put your time and energy is when you're in a position of service like that, we tend to forget about ourselves. So you have a desire personally to have that as an experience. So I want you to ask yourself the question, okay, so what is it about making that or bringing that more into my life that really inspires me, that drives me, that brings passion into my life? Because when you're in that position of self-service first, so you're doing it because you love it, because it inspires you, because you are learning, growing, and expanding as an individual. And by virtue, your customers or your clients or the people around you are gaining healing, perspective, support, or whatever it is that you're offering. This applies to whether you're making soap, to whether you're a holistic practitioner or a nutritionist. The same thing applies, is what do you want it to look like? Where do you want to focus on? And where is that focus bring you the most amount of inspiration, passion, and purpose? So if you begin with what your desires are and what fills your bucket up first as your main focus of where you invest your time and energy, well, then you're in your highest vibration to attract the ideal tribe or people to you. So that would be really the short answer that I have for you. There's a lot of self-discovery, self-exploration, and I have a number of modules that focuses just on that to help you dive into that in a really spiritual yet professional, blended, harmonious way, so that you can be spiritually guided while taking and making proper business decisions, and then marrying those two worlds so they can support you. And so I hope that's, I know that that's not the short answer. My short answer is the answer is within you. In that Consciouspreneur Prosperity Program, I have a whole bunch of different workshops and modules and recordings and coaching that I do to help you discover what that answer is and to help you hone in exactly what that looks like in a real way. So it's about taking your inspiration and bringing it into your reality and making it kind of bringing it into creation as a real life business kind of thing. So yes, Tracy, I'll go ahead and I'll send you a link to that program. It is by application only, just because to make sure that it's a right fit for you and a right fit for the group. Because I love supporting people in a specific way, and if that's the spiritual and conscious business program is certainly something that appeals to a lot of people. The way that I deliver the program, there's a few criteria that need to be met so that it's a good fit for you and also a good fit for the program. So as much as I know that a lot of people can benefit, I know that more people will benefit when it's a great fit. So thank you so much for all of you for listening in to the Ask Anik, the first series of this. So I will be rolling out a few more. So I would love if you would comment in the comment section below, and go ahead and follow up with any additional questions that might have been stirred up for you through this cast. If there's anything that came up that I provided some general information that you would like for me to go into a little bit deeper, I'd be happy to do that in our next Ask Anik Anything webcast. So thanks so much for showing up. Feel free to invite your friends to the Dream Life Mastermind group so that they can access this recording. It's only going to be available in our private group and only in my private network. So thanks again for tuning in, and I look forward to seeing you guys inside the group. Bye for now.